Hello, welcome to another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace, reporting live here at the Soapbox Gallery here in downtown Brooklyn. During the last year here at the Soapbox Gallery, proprietor and owner Jimmy Greenfield opened up his doors to striving as well as legendary poets, artists, and jazz musicians to communicate their art form during the time when the city was completely shut down and these musicians and artists had nowhere to perform. He provided a live streaming platform which communicated with all these music fans all over the world. And now that the city is being reopened, they are now allowing people to come in and to sit down and watch live performances again. And that's something that Mr. Greenfield is doing here at the Soapbox Gallery. For more information, please visit him online at thesoapboxgallery.org for more information as well as showtimes and directions. Tonight here at the Soapbox Gallery, I'm honored to document and interview a legendary saxophonist who was part of the soul jazz movement during the late 1960s into the 70s. And I'm talking about the legendary Houston Person. Now, Houston Person came out of that great lineage of soul jazz architects. I'm talking about guys like Dr. Lonnie Smith, George Benson, Cannonball Adderley, Les McCann, Eddie Harris, Jean Lupanti, the list goes on and on. Now tonight he's playing with one of his mentees, Pianist Lafayette Harris Jr. And Lafayette has been part of this jazz community for over 40 years, playing with the likes of Houston Person as well as the legendary Donald Byrd and Ernestine Anderson. Now Houston produced Lafayette's current Savant Records release, which did very well on the jazz charts this year. And tonight I had a chance to sit down and break bread with both of them to talk about, one, their roles as a musician and understanding the Great American Songbook, as well as reflect on why it's very important to know these songs moving forward as a musician, as well as Lafayette and I sit down and we talk about his time being mentored by the great Kenny Barron as well as Dr. Barry Harris. So sit back, relax, and enjoy highlights of this very special and intimate performance of the legendary Houston Person and Lafayette Harris Jr. live here at the Soapbox Gallery as part of the Pace Report here in downtown Brooklyn. Houston, I gotta ask you, when was the first time that you heard Lafayette Harris?
I don't remember really.
You don't remember?
You know what I think it was in Houston? I think we
Not in that alley.
I think we had a gig with a singer named Jackie Jones.
I think we did.
Out in New Jersey somewhere.
What year was this?
Oh my God, you're talking about...
This was years ago. It was so long ago I don't remember him.
Right. Probably like 88, 89, something like that. And I was late.
Oh wow, you were late.
That's right, because I used to bet on Lafayette whether it was going to be. We tried to bet on what time he was coming late.
I was late, and boy, man, he said, "Come here, I'm going to talk to you." We were in the other room. Don't you ever come such and such amount of time late to somebody else. He was a side man, and the boy, and I never forget that, man. That was, so I really worked on my coming on time after that.
Yeah, I did. I blasted him on being prompt to jobs, and he listened. Now he comes on time, sets his music on the bandstand, really prepared, and then when he comes to the bandstand, he knocks the music all over the floor. We were at Lincoln Center, and I turned around for him looking to get the music. He got set up there for a half hour. On time, everything was perfect. And he set the music out. I gave him set list, told him what to do. He set it all on the bandstand. First tune, he reaches for the music and bam, it went all over the floor. Right there in Lincoln Center. And I looked around and said, "Where are you, Lafayette?" He was on the floor trying to find it.
So, the thing that Houston is very, very instrumental with doing when he plays, whether it's, Showman's in Harlem or whether it's at the old Jazz Standard or wherever, he's always about the song. He knows a lot of songs, and throughout your tenure playing with Houston, what are some of the things that you really, really learned about as far as your musicianship and also how you interact with the band stage?
Well, that's a very good point about the songs, because, you can go all over and see some of the greatest musicians, and I say about 50% of them, if you see them one year, you see them the next year, they'll be playing those same tunes.
Right.
They got that set. That set.
And this brother right here, it's a different set each time.
It's a different set, and that's because making it a part of your general approach to keep on learning new songs, it's difficult. It's difficult to, we started off with A-Train. Now, I started playing A-Train when I was 16, and Houston probably was 16 too.
I'm trying to be cool.
But you want to just keep on adding tunes. That's I think it's important, and that is a surefire way to differentiate you, if that's a word, I'm not sure, but from other musicians. Oh, yeah, because I play some of these tunes, and I play a whole set, and then my friends text me, "What were those songs?"
Right.
Like they barely knew the tune, or they heard it before, they knew they've heard it, but they don't know it themselves, And it's quite easy to do that because there are so many tunes, Even if you take a great composer, Duke Ellington, everybody knows, take his top 10, 15, but then when you probably get into the top 40, 50, 60, there's a whole lot of other ones in there.
Right.
So Yeah, that's one of my approaches. I try to keep that going.
You know, and that's funny because when I was listening to you guys do All in the Game, you know, my father is 78 and he grew up in the 50s, which rhythm and blues and doo-wop, and Tommy Edwards was the guy that that was a million seller for him. But then my dad came out of Detroit and the Four Tops did that same song, and it reintroduced another generation to that song. And it's like what you said, these songs that Houston pulls out of his hat, you're like, wow, like I Love You, Yes. My rendition, when I think of that song, when you play it, I think of James Brown and Etta James. They recorded that song, and each song means something totally different from those artists. And I have to ask you, Houston, being the elder statesman and being the person that's carrying.
Wait. I knew you'd mess up. You were doing all right.
You being
elder statesman.
That's right. You're the man that's you. We have to respect your knowledge and your wisdom of these songs. What is it about these songs that you want the next generation to understand moving forward?
Well, they should know these songs. The way I feel about music, and if you present yourself to an audience, is that you should have everything available to you and listen to everything around you. I listen to everything around me, and then I try to take some of that from each generation to add to what I'm doing and try to enhance it, but not lose the qualities that they had earlier. And I try to play it as simply as possible, state the melody.
Right.
And we all do it all with great songs and great compositions, is to expose a theme. And then expound on it, do what you want with it, break the rules, but always present and expose a melody, something that the audience can grab onto. And I believe that you should know as many of these as possible. And I try to know every one because each song has value in your composition. There's something in everybody's creation. No matter the simplest little melody, it means something to somebody, so you can get something out of it. Sooner or later, I keep it toying with them, and I get something out of. I find the beauty in each song. That's what I try to do.
had the honor of studying with two great piano icons. Kenny Barron, who I've profiled here on the Pace Report, is really a cat. As a leader, he's brought a very unique voice to the piano, but he's also remembered as being a great accompanist, just like you. And I want to ask you, Lafayette, your role as an accompanist and now a leader, how has that transition been for you? Because for a while, you've played with some stalwarts, and we're going to talk about that in a second too. But Kenny is one of your mentors on those 88 keys.
Yeah, I first learned about Mr. Kenny Barron through John Blake, Senior, the violinist.
Late great John.
That's right. Who I met. I had the fortune of being able to go to school in Ohio. The second school that I went to was Oberlin after leaving Denison. And at Oberlin, McCoy Tyner came, and he brought John and Gary Bartz and Bobby Battle, I want to see on drums. I can't remember who the bass player. But they did a wonderful concert. But the violin students at Oberlin fell in love with Mr. John Blake. They just fell in love with him. He was just, he stole the show. I just, Oberlin's got a lot of violin students, dealing with classical. And anyway, John Blake was asked to come back by us students. And when he came back, he stayed for a week. We did workshops and everything, and we ended up doing a concert, and we played with them on the concert. And I got to know him a little bit. And before he came, I bought his latest record. And I can't remember the name of it, but it's a blue album cover, and there's a little bit of nice artwork on it. And Kenny Barron is the pianist. Cecil McBee is the bass player. And they're killing on that, man, and they got some out kind of stuff going on and some really inside stuff, man. And I'm just like, man, woo, this piano player is my man. I just love this. And so I tell John this when he comes, and he gives me his number. So I'm going to be looking for this guy when I come to New York. I decided I was going to come to New York, which I did, and when I got to New York, I called Kenny Barron, and he said, I'm playing at Joint on 14th Street. What was the name of that spot? Oh man, I'll remember it. It wasn't really a nice place, but it was one of those places that was kind of like I could get a gig.
Right.
But Kenny Barron was playing there, and there was a bunch of places there. Angry Squire. Wow. Oh Lord. And they had an upright piano. So it told you something, because most of the real good places had a grand piano. Anyway, Angry Squire, and it was always back in there. I went in there and met Kenny Barron, and I said, I want to study with you. So he says, well, I'm busy, teaching at Rutgers, etc. But you can come on Saturday to my house. So I traveled from Harlem. I lived in Harlem in those days, and get on the train and go out down to South Brooklyn, And that was a beautiful experience. And I kept on studying with him.
If Ross is giving $2,
and I said,
and we give $2.50 or $3.
wow, I'm going to be studying with him this much. He teaches at Rutgers, and I wasn't really that busy performing around town. Things were, kind of slow. I had a little bit of steady work. I had a steady job down in downtown Brooklyn, Gage and Toller restaurant. Played every Friday and Saturday night. But other than that, I said, you know what, I might as well go ahead and go back to school and get my degree if I'm going to be studying, and I could probably, get a scholarship or something, and I wanted to keep paying for these lessons, which I did, and got into Rutgers, and kept on studying with him. I learned a lot just being around him in the lessons and having chances to talk. At the time, he was fulfilling a great role as an accompanist because he had
Stan Getz.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
He got the very last and the very best out of the. He got the last years of Stan Getz.
Yeah, man. Wasn't that something?
People Time, I think, is one of the best records that kind of documented that amalgamation.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of like the nail in the coffin. When there's no more Kenny Barron, people are always going to be talking about People Time.
Didn't they sound great together?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have a video too. So I have a video of Stan Getz and Kenny Barron. And I want to say that they had place in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And there were 3 other keyboard players on it playing synthesizer, but not Return to Forever kind of synthesizer, but they were playing string parts.
Oh, wow.
Orchestrated. So they would have taken the place of 15, 16 horn players and string players, but these 3, I want to say Italian men sounded fabulous, were obviously really good keyboard players. And they were in the 50s and 60s, so it wasn't, they were experienced. Terry Lynn Carrington on drums, I think. It was quite a concert. It's a great video. If you haven't seen that one, get that one.
What did Kenny put on? Because I know playing with a guy like that, he's so humble in his approach, but he's so masterful at giving everybody space when they play with him.
Yeah. That's really very interesting. And the fact that I'm a pianist and he's a pianist, I got to experience playing with him in the room. They have 2 pianos, and a lot of times we would just sit there and play, and I would just be trying to try to sound as good as him. There were certain things that I knew I wasn't getting. I didn't understand how to get those sounds that he. So I remember we were playing Joe Bean tune.
Wave.
Thank you. Yeah, we were playing Wave, and we got to this one chord, and I was like, Kitty, man, my E7 doesn't sound like your E7. What is that you're talking about? What is that? I said, no, it doesn't sound like your. And then I started, and I played, and he heard, oh, yeah, let me fix that for you.
See, he heard. He's hearing stuff. He's hearing it.
Yeah, that was a good one. I needed that one. Yeah. So just, in other words, what I was doing was too close to, I don't want to say right, too close to, it wasn't adventurous enough. And to be able to find that level of how adventurous you want to be. And I that's one of the main things I got from Kenny, because like on that record with John Blake, he could take it all the way out. They played all the way out. And then I've seen him just play all the way in, okay, like with Stan Getz, or with the singer. Can't see if I mean, I know he played on a lot of singers.
Abbey Lincoln.
Yeah, that's right. He played on I think he shared the piano duties with Rodney Kendrick, and he was the guy that from South Africa passed away. Oh Lord. Yeah, another wonderful pianist. Yeah, I remember Rodney says to me later on, I'll never do anything like that again. Never be on a record with a master piano player and you up there trying to play. He'll never get me out there like that again. Because You know, when you listen back to the record, you can tell who's
Right.
you know. It's just, you know, yeah, it's just the way it is. It's like, you know, that seasoning, and of course, all that talent. You know, I'm talking about a guy who played with Dizzy Gillespie as a teenager. You know, that was
James Moody.
You know,
Man, I mean, yeah, being an accompanist and a leader, what are some of the things that you had to do? Like, you know, when we saw you when you were playing with Houston or Ernestine Anderson, there's a role that you have to play behind them, but also there's a role that you're doing as a band leader. What is it that you're doing transitioning from an accompanist to a band leader?
You mean like when I'm leading my own band?
Yes.
Oh yeah. There's a balance that's always going on. Okay, like when you're a sideman, as I have been with Houston, now with Houston for some time, and before that with Ernestine Anderson, you're a supporter. You're supporting, especially the piano chair. It's very, very important. You're supporting what's going on. You're it's like you're going after the foul balls too. You know what I'm saying?
Because this is something that I've always admired about you, Lafayette. When you play behind anybody, you put more fire on the person that you're backing up. It's like they looking at you and you're like, oh my God, man, you making me work a little harder tonight. And I think that's a fantastic thing, but also I like the reaction and the camaraderie that you have, which makes the audience more appreciative of what they're there for, to be entertained as well as be enthralled by the whole musicianship of all the musicians.
Yes, man. I once had a conversation with Kenny Barron. He really subbed. Maybe they didn't say subbed, but I'm sure they wanted Herbie Hancock. He told me a story. Hope I don't step on your toes anymore. I say Freddie Hubbard, Joe Henderson, Tony Williams, and Ron Carter. It might have been a different bass player. It might have been Buster Williams. He basically, you know, they weren't really that. And from what I can remember, they weren't so much talking to him that much, you know, probably because they wanted Kirby.
Right.
And he was talking about that there was so many dynamics between the musicians. You had these great musicians, but there was so much tension in the group. And he said that Joe Henderson was very cool. He was like too cool. He never did communicate. Tony Williams and Freddie Hubbard, all they did was fight and battle, and didn't want to, you know, play the way the other person wanted them to play when they were playing.
Well, they're both high intensity personalities and musicians anyway.
Dig that. Right. So that, you know, showed me that it's not just about how good you are, it's how willing you are to be a teammate. You know, see it in sports, right? We saw Michael Jordan when he was first coming out.
Right.
It's a lot different than he was getting a lot of points, but they wasn't winning no games, right? You know, but later on, it was like, you know, there's a lot of stuff that has to happen besides you going for the slam dunk. And that is that way with musicians.
You got to move the ball, that triangle offense. That's what Jordan and his teammates. And musicians kind of have to do that too.
That's right. You share. It's a shared experience. You know, it's not just, else you could just do solo. You should be up there solo. As a pianist, of course, that's part of our psyche. That's how we were trained since we, you know, if you study piano from the as a child, your mind is, I'm going to be at Carnegie Hall playing some Bach and Beethoven, you know, and I don't need no bass player, a drummer, saxophone player. Sure, don't need no singer. She's in my way. You know, I want to sing. You know, So there is a adjustment that accompanists make, even classical accompanists. They got to be able to go with the person who they're playing with, you know, and in so doing, you lift them up.
Right.
And when you lift them up, you're lifting up the experience for everybody, you know. Not that you don't have to be a little edgy to kind of push things around, jostle it up a little bit, you know.
Another guy that you study with, who we have to really break down, and he's one of our stalwarts. You know, Houston hated when I said that in our interview, but we have to our elder statesmen, and we have to preserve them because they're the ones that when they're gone, we got to carry out their legacy as far as their education. And Dr. Barry Harris is another cat that you spend a lot of time with. For my viewers out there, explain who Dr. Barry Harris is and what he means to jazz music.
Man, Barry Harris is such an icon for people who love this music. I remember in the 80s they always said the keeper of the flame, you know. I don't think they say that anymore, I don't know why, but as far as teaching young people, or not so young, how to get the swing going, knowledge of music, and passing on the verbal tradition of the history, because he's lived the music. So many, and even before he came to New York, being in Detroit, just when you hear him and other people talk about what it was like being in Detroit as a musician and playing in the clubs, and what the scene was like, and all the players that were coming to his house, and he figured out how to teach people at an early age. It's really amazing when you think about it. To be a teenager and still being able to, and yet being able to have a science for a method, and so many people, even John Coltrane was a person going there. I got to go find Barry Harris. Just to be able to plug into it, and we're so fortunate that he has a class. He even teaches now
on Zoom during this COVID, man. I'm like, this man really just like.
And I think it's been good for him.
Yeah.
Because in the last 4 or 5 years, all that traveling, he's gotten ill like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Dealing with that traveling, put himself in the hospital, a couple of times, and and you're eating all that different food, and he flies first class, but it's actually been better for him to
do it here,
stay on the ground, and you could be at home, you could have your needs taken care of much better. When you got to go to your regular checkup, you can go. You don't have to worry about.
I find it very interesting that Dr. Harris has been the pull of the jazz community as far as the education in New York City. This is going on like the 7th decade. That's just amazing. And then you look at the class like yourself. You're like one of his alumnus, famous alumnus to come through. I mean, just the fact that people have embraced him from all over the world is what really makes him very unique to this tradition of jazz.
Yeah, the world, people come from all over the world to be there at that class, and are talking about it all over the world. And now, since we have these devices, people video, I remember I used to carry a video camera around with me, I would say like around 1994 or 5. And I was in class one day and I had my camera and I said, Barry, is it okay if I? He says, just this once.
And I bet you still have that.
Oh boy, I would love to find it. I gotta find that tape.
I did an interview with him, and the name of it is called Last Stop to Monk, because of the relationship between him and Thelonious Monk. He lived in the house with him and he played on the very piano, and really he is the last train to Monk. He's that last connect that if you want to know anything about bebop, you want to know about Monk Stride, that's the cat you go to.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It's interesting. I asked Byrd about that relationship with Monk, and I think he was a bit intimidated being in Monk's presence, and Monk was not in good health in those days either, So
the last years.
Yeah, so it wasn't like Monk was running out the house to come back and after doing a tour or gig and running to the clubs or they were, you could do when you're, healthy and young. That he missed that period, But I think that just Barry was inspired to really find the keys to what makes great music in this tradition. Being around somebody like that day in and day out. He said Monk came here and he stayed in my bed until he died. I guess Barry went and slept on the couch or something. I don't know. But that's love, man. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Lafayette, when you guys were recording your new album, your recent record, Houston produced this album, and when you were in the studio, what was the relationship, you being the front guy and him being the person that's kind of like the Skinvali? He's the guy that's kind of, okay, you gotta do this, how was the working relationship with this, recording this album?
Well, it's great to be in there with somebody who's, done it 1,000 times. There's, we might try this, try that, but a lot of times you can kind of waste time by, running around trying to do too many things. I feel like once we strike upon something that's working, say, okay, there it is. Go ahead. Stop messing around and go ahead and record. This is it right there, capture that moment. And and then also, he helped me, of course, pick out some great songs. So that, a lot of the work was actually done before we got in the studio. That's, it's not like you're making an R&B record, and say, okay, we got a month. You got to know what you're going to play and who you're going to play with and kind of how you're going to do it before you get there, So I knew the band I was going to use, and I knew what tunes we were going to play. We had, probably like a couple of extra tunes that, would have been nice to include them, but it would have been too long. So, just helping you, plan it out. I said that step was key, and we planned it out for a good while before we went in the studio. So,
And I want to add one thing too, Houston. Houston lost a very dear friend, a guy that was kind of like a mentor to you when you were recording these great classic jazz recordings in the late 60s and 70s. Bob Porter.
Yeah.
Bob Porter was a great ear. He had a great ear, and he knew the music, and he knew the songs just like Houston. They were kind of like a pea in the pod. Tell everybody about the role of a producer, because you've been playing and you've been a leader forever, but a producer is something that is very different, because you have to kind of be like the eyes and the ears for the musicians in the studio.
And the bookkeeper. Mostly the bookkeeper.
Okay.
But yeah, you want to have a well-rounded repertoire. Now that's me when I'm producing. I like to have to know the artists that I'm working with, and I know that Lafayette has a background in blues, and he's from an area, Baltimore, Washington. I know what that audience prefers. So with his album, we tried to balance some of those old R&B tunes, which nobody touches. Everybody is neglected. That whole, people never heard of these R&B singers. Back in the day, you'd see Teresa Brewer and Pat Boone, Elvis Presley, all the people singing these songs. When the Beatles came over, they had to tell this country who Chuck Berry was. Mm-hmm. They didn't know that this music had already been sitting there dormant. That's when people started really looking at the blues again.
Rolling Stones also.
Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
When they all came from England. So how'd you create? So we didn't create anything. It's been here, So we got a nice mix of some of those old tunes and some new tunes, and mixed together. And the album that we did was on the charts for like 10 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
The number one album.
Yeah. It's still on the charts. It's still on the charts.
But that's why you present, you know what your audience wants. People, everything's gotten a little too glossy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Everybody's looking for perfection.
But nobody's perfect.
That's right.
And I just look for imperfection. I want you to be exposed to the warts, the clip notes. And a distributor taught me that, nobody wants anything perfect because it's not real. You can aspire to attain perfection. Keep the journey going, of course. But somehow you never want to get there. But somehow in the back of your mind, when I think I'm perfect, I just keep going and try to meet another challenge so that I can make those little goofs. and I enjoy them. And the audience loves seeing you struggle out of a situation. Because with a band when I was growing up. Maybe this is why. And they played everything wrong. But I learned how to play wrong and make it sound right. Because all you have to do is believe in what you're doing. And that's life. You know, that's Steve Jobs. You know, that's Bezos with Amazon. You know, all these guys. Yeah. And none of them had an education. They drop out, all those dropouts, you know, and Zuckerberg, you know, in this little room, the room is, said, man, well, let's try it. Somebody say, you can't do that. What do you mean you can't do it? You know? But they haven't been educated enough to know that they're not supposed to do it. And that's where I always want to be. Like, so that, you know, that's life. You know, and you can go as far as you want to go. And like they say, you know, you can look, this Steve Jobs said, yeah, a lot of people look straight down the road, try to see what's around, but they never look around the corner.
Right.
So you see all this. Hey, that's another subject for another day. We talk about that all night.
One last.
And I don't want to give away my secrets.
That'll do it again for another edition of the Pace Report, reporting live here at the Soapbox Gallery here in downtown Brooklyn. I'd like to personally thank the talented Lafayette Harris for his time. Make sure you buy his current CD, which is now available on Savant Records. For more information on his upcoming tour dates, also to order his CD, please visit him online at LafayetteHarrisJr.com. Also, I'd like to personally thank the legendary Houston person for his time, as well as Mr. Jimmy Green and the staff here at the Soapbox Gallery here in downtown Brooklyn. Now that the city is now reopening, Jimmy and his staff here at the Soapbox Gallery are now allowing people to come and pay to watch some of these live sets. For more information, please visit him online at soapboxgallery.org for upcoming showtimes as well as the directions. People, please like, share, and subscribe to my videos here on YouTube as well as Vimeo, as well as like, share, and subscribe on my social media as well for Facebook as well as Instagram and Twitter. Remember, people, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Till next time, peace.